But today, far from over, HIV is a plague that is striking one population more than any other.
Just by a show of hands, how many people have been affected by HIV?
Black Americans are nearly 8 times more likely than white Americans to be HIV positive. The epidemic in D.C. is centered in areas like Daphne's old neighborhood, where the infection rate amongst straight black women has doubled from 6 to 12% in just 2 years.
Yesterday, I stumbled across this video from the OWN network, and it was talking about the HIV/AIDS epidemic that's currently going on Black America. And it jumped out to me, and it was very alarming for several reasons. One reason being, as we heard, Black Americans are 8 times more likely to get infected than white people. And then right here in the nation's capital, D.C., which I'm a stone's throw away from, Black women's infection rate has doubled. Of course, there were all kinds of different theories as to why this happened. You know, some were saying that it's due to the fact that a lot of black people, poor black people, don't have access to health care. Then they were talking about, you know, black men going to jail and doing things with other men, then coming back and getting with women. Then, of course, they were talking about people being drug users and sharing needles. Now, what I'll say is this. All of those things are a contributing factor. But there's other issues that we're not necessarily addressing and talking about that we should talk about today. And one of those things being this. And, you know, it's so funny when I look back being raised in the church and how as you get older, certain things start to make more sense to you. Because I can remember being a child, being raised in the church, and I would hear the safest place in the whole wide world is in the will of God. Now, as a kid, you just, you don't really, whatever. But as I get older, it's like I start to understand that more and more each day. Basically, what it's saying is, for those of you who don't know, have never heard that saying, basically what it's saying is, if you live your life in a way that God would desire for you to live it, outlined in the Bible, that's the safest way for you to live. Now, bad things happen to everybody. It rains on the just and the unjust, just as the sun shines on the just and the unjust. So all of us are going to go through good and bad in life. But the safest place is in God's will, operating under His commandments. And this situation is a good example of that. So we talked about the 3 explanations that they gave in the documentary, but let's talk about a few more. Because we got to be honest about where things are going right now. A lot of us, myself included at one point in time, have embraced a casual sex culture, a casual sex way of living. You know, where it's all about having your fun and enjoying yourself. And we all grown folks here. Like, we got to be honest about that. And so part of the issue is a lot of us are having more fun than we probably should be having. Now, I'm not in other communities, so I can't speak to whether they're having more sex or less. I don't know what they're doing. So I can't say we're doing more or less than anybody else. All I can say is we are having a lot of fun. And if we're going to be honest, in 2024, and it's really been going on for some time now, let's be all the way real. It's been quite some time since the AIDS and HIV epidemic. And if we're going to be all the way real about it, a lot of us don't have the fear that we used to have. You know, there was a time where you thought, man, if I catch that, I'm going to die. I'm going to get sick and I'm going to die. And that fear is what caused a lot of us to be more cautious and be more selective. Let's just be real. But years have went on, and a lot of us feel as though it's not necessarily as deadly as it used to be. We feel as though we can live with it. We're not really worried about it. We're not scared of it. And here's the other part of it. People who have it don't really talk about it like that, so it's out of sight, out of mind. And so we're going to be 100% real. Another factor that's causing the epidemic is simply that people don't have a fear of getting sick and dying anymore. Let's just be real. A lot of us don't. People have... It's going to be funny, it's going to be strange when I say this, but it's the facts. A lot of people, low-key, feel like AIDS, HIV, that's not a thing like that anymore. Because, you don't hear about it like that no more. You don't hear about people getting sick and dying no more. A lot of you may not know anybody personally that has come out and told you that they have it. So you might have people around you that have it, but you don't know because they ain't said nothing. And so it's out of sight, out of mind. And listen, once that fear is gone, people go back to, living on the edge. And so that's part of it. People are living on the edge because they're not afraid anymore. That's what's going on. So when you combine this age we're in where, hey, if it feels good and you want to do it, we all grown. You can do what you want, whatever you want to do. No shame, no judgment. When you combine that with the fear is gone and people feel like, hey, those days are over with and it's all good, it's going to be some crazy stuff going on. Like, for example, because we grown and we want to do what we want to do, and we don't have that fear anymore, are we going to be honest about a lot of us are very comfortable not only being with multiple people within a short time frame, but a lot of us are comfortable with flings and one-night stands, and you're with somebody and you're with somebody else and they're with other people because a lot of us are afraid of commitment and we just want to feel good in certain moments. So you got several casual friends and they got several casual friends, Then on top of that, once again, because people ain't scared no more, condoms are not mandatory. People don't want to tell the truth. In 2024, condoms are not mandatory. Come on now. If the person looks good and smells good, come on, man. Are we going to tell the truth today? There's a lot more unprotected sex going on right now in 2024 than there was in the 90s and the early 2000s. Because there was more fear. But once again, the fear is gone and people, hey, I'm doing my thing. Let's be real about it. And so that's part of the issue. Condoms is like a 50-50 thing, if we're going to be real. Casual sex is common practice. Being with somebody and they're not the only person you're with and you're not the only person they're with, common practice. Don't believe me? Get on TikTok. And you'll hear all these people talking about, my sneaky link or my best eater or my favorite muncher or this or that. They're not talking about somebody they was in a committed relationship with. Nor are they talking about that being the only person they were dealing with. Hence the word favorite or best, meaning they were dealing with multiple people. Also, this is going to sound silly, but it's true. A lot of people are not, even people in their 30s and 40s, are not necessarily sexually, what's the word I'm looking for? Knowledgeable. And so they'll do things like, I always use a condom. Then you go, well, do you use a condom for oral sex? No. You see, like, That right there. Like, seriously, a lot of us will use condoms for penetration, but orally we don't use anything. Just out of silliness and ignorance. Like, come on, like, let's be real about it. Let's be real. And here's another factor that a lot of us are not talking about as well. A growing number of us, particularly with the young people, a growing number of us are in a space in life where we are using sexual encounters as a dopamine hit to make us feel better about our lives, our situation, to distract us from depression. And so it's not even necessarily that we like the person or we know the person like that, but we are doing what we're doing to feel better momentarily. And so it's all kinds of just people hooking up that really shouldn't be hooking up whatsoever. That's a lot of that going on. And then you throw on top of that, a lot of us, especially like when it comes to younger people, may not have all that much hope or a good outlook for the future. They're not really taking care of themselves like that or loving themselves like that. And so when you're in that position, you take more chances and you act more recklessly. And so a lot of you because they look good, because they smell good, you done put your life in the hands of somebody who, at this point in time, don't care about their life like that. And if they don't care about their life like that, they certainly don't care about yours. And so with that being said, I'm going to just say this. If there was ever a reason to be celibate, if there was ever a reason to slow it down and shut down the shop and be a lot more selective about what you're doing, this is a good reason. Because trust me, in 2024, people can look good and smell good and have this persona about them and look very sexy. And the whole time, they doing all kind of stuff with all kind of people. They got all this kind of depression going on. They really don't care about their life, or they're not hopeful for the future. They're reckless, and you're you getting involved with somebody like that. Because a lot of times with these casual situations, you don't have a deep connection with this person prior to laying with them. And so you rolling the dice, and there ain't no telling what you're going to get out of it. You know how I know this? Just look around at all these unsupervised, unloved children that are walking around nowadays. But we like to talk about baby mama keeping the dad from the kids or the dad abandoning the kids. But if we're going to be 100% honest, a lot of these kids are coming from a situation like this. Let me explain to you what's going on with a lot of these new kids and a lot of these young kids that are out here right now. Once again, just listen to podcast culture. And you'll hear or look at Twitter, all this different kind of stuff. You hear men who have serious issues with women in terms of loving them, trusting them, respecting them, mommy issues and all of that. And you hear a lot of women who have deep-seated men issues in terms of loving them, trusting them, daddy issues, abuse in the past, right? And so what's going on that a lot of us are not talking about is these same men who have these issues with women. Matter of fact, let me get more specific. There are a good amount of black men who have real issues with black women, who still sleep with black women. There are black women who have strong, deep-seated issues with black men, who are still sleeping with black men. And that's how a lot of these broken homes are coming about. Because you have two people, or in some cases one person, who despises the other, but they're still sleeping with the person that they despise. And so when a child is brought into the mix, it ain't no thing for them to, abandon and do all this other kind of stuff, because they have deep-seated issues. And that's also what's going on with this AIDS and HIV epidemic. Some of these people that you're having a casual fling with, that you're having fun with, that y'all just hooking up with, because they look good, they smell good, they're good in bed. Some of these men you hooking up with have issues with black women. Some of these women that you hooking up with, she has issues with black men. See, because what it took me a long time to realize is that just because I was always thinking okay, this person got issues with black men, this person got issues with black women, so they probably dealing with some other race of people. But no, that's not the case. It's really crazy, but that's not the case. What's actually going on is the men who talk about what's wrong with black women the most, a lot of times they exclusively sleep with black women. A lot of black women who talk about what's wrong with black men and how they don't trust them and they hate them and, the cops ain't killing them fast enough. A lot of times those women exclusively sleep with black men. And that's part of the epidemic too. Because you are sleeping with somebody not knowing that this person has deep-seated issues with you. You're a black man having an unprotected fling with a black woman, not knowing that she has deep-seated issues with black men. You're a black woman sleeping with a black man, raw or all kind of, all the stuff we like to do these days, right? You're sleeping with this black man, not knowing that this black man has deep-seated issues with black women. And so they have no incentive on being honest with you, being upfront with you, protecting you, keeping you safe, making sure you're healthy, opening up to you about what they may or may not have. And then the last point, we got to talk about it. There's a growing number of us who, are anything goes, right? Meaning, hey, sometimes I'm with a man, sometimes I'm with a woman. And this how the spin people like to put on it. I just like beautiful people. I just love, and I don't put no restrictions on it, right? So there's a lot of anything goes people out here. Let's just keep it real. It's a lot of anything goes people out here. And so they over here with this one, they over here with that one. They just, come on now. So I say all that to say this. The safest place. Hey, the safest place. I know you're grown and you can do what you want to do and you're hot girl summer and city boys and city girls and sexual liberated. Okay. I'm just saying, there's some stuff out here waiting for you while you playing around.